Hello everyone and welcome to Mind Garbage. My name is Eric Myers. If you didn't know, Mind Garbage is the show that airs every Friday right here on YouTube, and I talk to you about, whatever I want to talk about, not whatever you want to talk about. You may have no interest in this topic at all, but I'm going to talk about it. Spoiler warning, I'm going to be spoiling what I'm talking about. So if you didn't play it yet and you don't want to know anything about it or whatever, exit off, come back after the video and watch. Today I wanted to talk about Telltale's Batman, first episode of this season. I really liked this episode. Now, I haven't played that much of Telltale games. I played The Walking Dead Season 1 and 2. I've dabbled in Tales of the Borderlands. I have Wolf Among Us. Haven't gotten around to it. But I appreciate Telltale for what they do. They brought adventure games into the modern kind of setting and made them less obtuse and more about the story itself. And what's interesting about this particular game is you are playing already with an established character, Bruce Wayne, Batman. If you look at The Walking Dead, with the exception really of The Wolf Among Us, and that's very, very limited knowledge of what I know, with the exception of that, Walking Dead, Minecraft, Tales from the Borderlands, and I'm not counting the earlier stuff, because that was more of I guess I would have to count it. With the exception, Game of Thrones, that's the other one I was thinking of, if I didn't say it already. With the exception of those ones of the new modern Telltale, as I was say, from Walking Dead on, those were all characters that were just new characters written for this particular world or whatever they were building. So it's interesting when you have something like Wolf Among Us, and especially Batman, a character that I feel is, no offense to people if you're a fan of Fables or whatever, a character that is so well known, has had so many different interpretations, and you can do it so many different ways that you have agency for the first time in a video game over Bruce Wayne and Batman. One of the things that I really appreciated, like I said a little bit earlier with that different interpretations, is that this is a different interpretation of Batman in general. One of the things that I really liked was seeing Gotham in a different light from how we are kind of used to. There are definitely shades of a Nolan type universe. I think especially the one that really was like, this looks like straight ripped out of Batman Begins, is the monorail that goes through, but it's like hanging up. I don't know if those really exist. I don't get out very much, but I assume they don't. And I was like, oh, that's exactly like the one from Batman Begins. But you see Gotham being painted in the light of there's the high class, the area of Gotham that is the rich people, and this is where they, Bruce's friends, and even where he goes when he's, Bruce Wayne, and just hanging out, just chilling, as it were, getting lunch with Harvey Dent. Then you see the slummy side of it, and I think what is interesting is the different sort of people that it's setting up as their side of Gotham that they run, where you have Falcone being a criminal, and generally, even though he runs pretty much everything, he is on the more richer side of things. And then you have Oswald Cobblepot, who I can tell you, this is probably, in my eyes, what I think when I think of Cobblepot and the Penguin and everything. This is an awesome interpretation, and this is the one that I would honestly like to see going forward for the character. And I feel like, as much as I enjoy the character of the Penguin, I think the whole short and stout with the Penguin-esque nose is a little weird and outdated. I like him just being kind of a normal guy. Interesting of them giving him a relationship. I know in the comics that there is a history between the families, but it's cool to see them as though they were friends growing up, and that something happened, at least it was hinted at towards me, that something happened between them. That's not the case anymore. One of the things that I don't like about it, and excuse me, this is something just really minor, is that some of the writing is a little bit off, especially in the first half. I felt some of the writing in the early dinner scene, particularly to me, was off and not very Telltale. Usually when you see Telltale games, they're really well written, really well acted, voice acted, and everything really good. And this episode is no exception to that. I think Troy Baker, Laura Bailey, the dude that does Sully, Harvey Dent, all of them, they all do really good voice acting as far as I am concerned. But some of the writing was a little bit weird and almost felt kind of stiff which is not something they're usually used to from Telltale games. So I think some of the writing could be improved. The big thing to me is really the engine. I've heard people have not really had issues on PS4 or on Xbox One, actually. I ran into a lot of just framey, kind of like stutters, as it were, with the PS4 version, which is a little weird, a little alarming. I don't understand why that is. Especially since they were like, oh, we got this new engine, and with it, when everything is working well, the new engine itself is actually really beautiful. There's more particle effects, there's more just color and a little bit more life and detail into the world, as opposed to, when you looked at the Walking Dead game, it looked very much like the comic, how it's drawn, everything, which is really cool to see. But I like that they have their art style for this that is similar to that, just a little bit more detailed and a little better. So it's really cool to see that, but that is it's a plus and negative. It's pros and cons, whatever, with it. I think the engine still needs improvement. I would like to see it run and be optimized a little bit better. Now, the positives that I had, like I said, I like the story and where it's going a lot. I think it's interesting to have Falcone and, him being a part of this. I hope at some point they introduce the Ramones, I believe is what they're called. I would love to see the Falcones and Maronis against each other. Sorry, I cannot speak today. Against each other, kind of similar to I think it's either Year One or Long Halloween. Would be really cool to see that play out throughout this as kind of just an underlying story. But granted, it could be all over now for Falcone from my ending, because I sent him to jail, And that's another thing that I really enjoy is you have, for the first time like I said earlier, for the first time in a Batman video game, you have agency over Batman, and you choose how Batman is. So that is something that to me is very interesting, is that you can play Batman into almost 3 different lights. I only did it once. I know other people from different outlets and whatever. I know Alana Pierce from IGN, when she reviewed it, she played it 3 different times. I only played it the one time, mainly because this is, essentially I'm not getting paid to review it, so I just want to review it from the point of view of how do I put it? I just want to have my own canonical playthrough and tell you my results, as it were. I really enjoy that. To me, it's cool to see you can have Batman be played out in different ways, where if you are a more violent Batman, and of course it's silly to say, oh, Gotham will remember that, because that's what everyone expected from a Telltale game, but they do say that. And what I think is cool about that is that it actually really has effects on the world, as far as the papers and everything, or what the town or what the city and everything is saying about you, which I think is cool. It's different, where as in Walking Dead, or I assume Tales and Wolf Among Us and all these ones, you just had relationships with these people, and so your relationships were determined by your actions and everything, whereas this is your relationship with the city, as it were, which I think is a very interesting dynamic. And you can have your relationship with Alfred be, I assume, different. Same with Commissioner Gordon and Vicky Vale and all these different people. But your relationship with the city is a very important thing. And I think that is really cool and really interesting. Another thing, like I said, with as a positive that I said kind of earlier, alluding to, is I really like the characters that they are setting up in this, and how at this point, because of an established history, we feel, Harvey Dent, he's going to be Two-Face, him and Penguin are going to go at it, and this is going to happen with the Maronis, Joker's going to come out or whatever. I still kind of expect those things, but anything could happen, which is, I think, very interesting. And I like the fact that they are taking risks and they are doing their own interpretation of Batman, which is, in case you didn't know, one of my favorite just characters in general, probably my favorite comic book hero, because what I really enjoy is the idea of, this is a little thing, and I'll end on this, to kind of just show the Batman that they're building, in the universe they're building with this, is in the very beginning of the game, you start out, you're in the Batcave, and one of the things that I loved is you go through the Bat computer and everything, and you're looking at it, and he has codex information on all these people. And one of the things is that in this, Commissioner Gordon is not Commissioner yet, he is just Lieutenant Gordon, and he has information on him. And then he is saying, we barely know each other. He's a contact. His information, essentially, he could be a good asset. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about that word, keyword being asset, is that this is painting Batman. He is early on in his career, not early, but at least been around for a little while. But that he doesn't look at people as I'm going to help the city or I'm going to help you and you're going to help me. He's just looking at him as an asset, what I think is an interesting, very interesting take for Batman, to have Batman just be essentially using people. And I think that's very interesting. Also, I am going to end on a different note. I love what they're setting up with his parents. They kind of alluded to, obviously they're talking about his parents being dead, which I've heard people complain about. Didn't really bother me personally, but I can totally see where it would bother you. I like how they're setting up that they could have been mobsters, and I think that's very interesting. And like I said, I cannot wait to see where this goes forward. If you like Batman, even at all, or you're just a Telltale fan, even remotely interested, give it a shot. Check it out. You can probably just buy the first episode. It's probably, I assume, $5 to $6 or whatever. Check it out. You'll probably enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching. If you like, you can subscribe to my channel. You can like the video. You can do whatever you want. Share with your friends. I don't care. If you want to keep up with me, you can follow me on Twitter at EricMyers93. Link down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next week.